Olivia never thought one work trip would change so much. She was 39, steady in her routines, a woman who balanced her job and her quiet personal life with care. Her friends often teased her for being too cautious, but she had her reasons. Life had taught her not to take unnecessary risks, and she lived by that rule. That's why the night in Seattle surprised her more than anything. She had traveled for a big design conference, a chance for her small firm to showcase their work to bigger clients. Alongside her was Danielle, a colleague 10 years younger, full of energy and ideas. Daniel was different from the others in the office, where many were guarded and formal. He was open, easy to laugh, easy to talk to. Olivia liked working with him, though she sometimes caught herself noticing more than just his talent. The way he leaned forward when he was curious, the way his smile lingered when their eyes met. She dismissed those thoughts. She was his senior, both in work and in years. Nothing more. The day of the conference was long and exhausting. They had spent hours in meetings, talking to potential partners, smiling until their faces hurt. By the time evening arrived, both of them were ready to retreat to the hotel. But when they got to the front desk, there was chaos. A mix-up with the booking system had left only one room available. 2 beds, 1 room. Olivia froze. Her natural instinct was to find another hotel, insist on a solution, avoid any awkwardness. But Daniel spoke first, his tone light, almost teasing. "It's fine, Olivia. We're adults. Just one night. We can manage." She wanted to argue, but the exhaustion of the day pressed on her. Finally, she nodded. "All right. Just one night." The room was simple: 2 beds, a small table, a window overlooking the city lights. Olivia tried to act normal, setting her suitcase down, arranging her things neatly, busying herself so she wouldn't think about the strangeness of it. Daniel dropped onto one bed with a sigh of relief, scrolling through his phone before glancing up at her with a smile. "Long day, huh?" "Too long," she admitted, sitting on the other bed. For a while, they simply unwound. The TV hummed softly in the background, but their conversation soon filled the space. They talked about work at first, then drifted into lighter things. Daniel told her about his college years, how he had once thought about becoming a teacher before choosing design. Olivia shared how she had stumbled into her career almost by accident, following one opportunity after another until she found herself leading projects. The more they talked, the more the room seemed to shrink, pulling them closer together. Olivia hadn't had a conversation like this in years. Open, honest, with no need for pretense. Daniel listened intently, his eyes holding hers when she spoke, his laughter easy and warm when she teased him about his stories. At some point, Daniel grew serious. "You know, people don't always take me seriously at work. They think because I'm younger, I don't know what I'm doing." Olivia tilted her head, surprised. "You're talented, Daniel. Anyone can see that." He smiled faintly. "Not everyone says it like you do. You make me feel like I matter." The words lingered, soft but heavy. Olivia looked away, her heart beating faster than it should. She didn't want to read too much into it, but something in his tone, in his gaze, felt more than casual. She chose not to respond, instead asking about his future plans. He shrugged. "I don't know yet. Sometimes I feel like I'm still figuring myself out. But you seem so sure of who you are." Olivia laughed lightly, though the sound was tinged with sadness. "You'd be surprised. Sometimes I feel invisible, like the world decided I already had my best years, and now I'm just here." Daniel's eyes softened. He leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "That's not true. You don't see yourself the way others do. You're unforgettable." Her breath caught. The words struck deeper than she expected. She tried to dismiss them with a smile, but inside, they stirred something long buried. She hadn't heard anything like that in years, and hearing it from him, in that quiet room, made it harder to ignore. Time slipped by unnoticed. The city outside buzzed with nightlife, but inside their room, it felt like the world had narrowed to just the two of them. Olivia finally turned off the lamp, leaving the space bathed in the soft glow of streetlights streaming through the window. She lay in bed, eyes open, listening to Daniel's steady breathing across the room. Sleep wouldn't come easily. Her mind replayed their words, the look in his eyes, the warmth in his voice. She tried to remind herself this was just a moment, nothing more. But her heart argued differently. She wondered if he was awake too, thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same pull. She dared not look, dared not speak, afraid of what might happen if either of them broke the fragile balance. Finally, she closed her eyes, whispering to herself, "It's just one night." But even as the words left her lips, she knew it wasn't true. Something had already shifted. Something neither of them could undo. By morning, their lives would feel different. And Olivia knew she was standing on the edge of a line she had never intended to cross. Olivia woke to the faint sound of city traffic outside the window. For a moment she forgot where she was. The unfamiliar ceiling, the glow of early sunlight sneaking past the curtains, the quiet hum of the air conditioner, it all felt strange. Then she turned her head and remembered. Daniel was there. He was still asleep, lying on his back, his chest rising and falling in an easy rhythm. He looked peaceful, younger somehow, without the sharpness he carried during work hours. Olivia studied him for only a second before she quickly looked away. She shouldn't have let herself do that. Last night had already blurred lines, and she couldn't let it go further. She quietly slipped out of bed and began packing her things, hoping to avoid an awkward moment when he woke. But Daniel stirred, his eyes opening slowly. "Morning," he mumbled, his voice rough from sleep. "Morning," she replied, keeping her tone neutral. He sat up, rubbing his face, then smiled at her. "You were right. It was just one night. And we survived." Olivia forced a small laugh. Yes, just one night. But inside she knew it wasn't that simple. The words they had shared, the way he had looked at her, it lingered. She tried to shake it off as they got ready, brushing her hair, fixing her blouse, pretending nothing had changed. They left the hotel together and walked to a cafe nearby for breakfast. The air was crisp, the streets buzzing with people on their way to work. Daniel ordered coffee and pancakes. Olivia chose tea and toast. They sat across from each other, trying to return to the easy rhythm they'd had before. But the silence between them carried weight. Daniel finally broke it. "I hope last night didn't make you uncomfortable." Olivia met his eyes, then quickly looked down at her tea. "It was fine. We talked, we slept, nothing happened. Maybe nothing happened," he said softly. But it felt like something did. Her heart skipped. She didn't know how to answer. She wanted to tell him to stop, to remind him of their professional relationship, the age gap, the risks. But she couldn't deny what she felt either. There had been something she hadn't felt in years. "Daniel," she said carefully, "we should forget it. It was just a night. If we keep thinking about it, we'll make it bigger than it was." He leaned forward, his voice steady. "But what if it already is bigger? What if I don't want to forget?" Her chest tightened. She hadn't expected his honesty to be so direct, so fearless. She swallowed hard, trying to steady her thoughts. "You're young. You'll feel things and then move on. I can't." "You're wrong," he interrupted gently. "This isn't just about being young. I know what I feel. And last night, it was the first time I felt truly seen." His words cut through her defenses. For years, Olivia had lived behind walls. She had convinced herself that her time for passion, for connection, had passed. But Daniel's gaze was undoing that belief piece by piece. She sighed and shook her head. "This is dangerous, Daniel. People wouldn't understand. We work together. I'm older than you." He smiled faintly. "So what? Does that erase what we feel?" She wanted to argue, but the truth was there. It didn't erase it. It only made it more complicated. The rest of breakfast passed in fragments of small talk, both of them circling around the unspoken truth. When they returned to the conference for the final day, Olivia tried to focus on the presentations, the networking, the endless polite conversations. But every time she caught Daniel's eye across the room, she felt that same pull. That evening, they boarded the flight back home. Sitting side by side on the plane, silence hung between them again. But this time it was charged, alive. At one point, their hands brushed as they both reached for the armrest. Olivia froze, ready to pull away, but Daniel didn't move. His hand stayed there, warm against hers, and she didn't have the strength to retreat. Hours later, when the plane landed and they parted ways at the airport, Olivia felt a hollow ache in her chest. She told herself it would fade. That distance would restore the balance. But when she reached home, unpacked her suitcase, and stood in her quiet apartment, she realized how much the night had changed her days past. Work resumed, emails piled up, meetings filled the hours. On the surface, everything looked the same. But Olivia carried the weight of that night with her. She avoided being alone with Daniel, but his presence lingered in every room. His laugh during lunch breaks, his ideas during meetings, the way he always sought her opinion first, it all reminded her of what had passed between them. One Friday evening, as most of the office emptied, Olivia stayed behind to finish a report. She thought she was alone until she heard footsteps. Daniel appeared at her desk, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You've been here too long," he said with a smile, setting 1 cup down for her. "Deadlines don't wait," she replied, trying to sound casual. He sat on the edge of her desk, close enough for her to feel the warmth of his presence. "You've been avoiding me." She looked up sharply. "I haven't. You have," he said gently. "And I get it. You're scared. But Olivia, I can't pretend nothing happened." "I won't." Her defenses wavered. The room was too quiet, his eyes too earnest. She wanted to push him away with logic, with rules, but her heart betrayed her. "Daniel," she whispered, "if we cross this line, we can't go back." He leaned closer, his voice steady. "Then maybe we don't go back. Maybe we see where this leads." Her pulse raced. The truth hung in the air. Undeniable. She knew she was standing at the edge of a choice that could change everything: her career, her peace, her carefully built life. But she also knew she had already crossed that line in her heart. The coffee between them grew cold as silence stretched. Finally, Olivia looked at him, her eyes filled with both fear and longing. This could ruin us. Or, he said softly, it could save us." The words sank deep. For the first time in years, Olivia felt alive, caught between the danger of falling and the thrill of being seen. And in that moment, she realized nothing about her life would ever be the same again.